This little squiggly, cute, furry thing here is May, and May has some accidents. So in this video, we're going to go over how you can teach your dog. We're really going to go over potty training. Now, I'm going to start this off. I always just start off this video by the two things you don't want to do. The two most common mistakes that people make when they're potty training the dog is if the dog has an accident, we take the dog and we rub the dog's nose in the urine or the feces. And that teaches the dog that sometimes the human is just irrational and is just going to go ahead and rub my nose in it. And it's not a pleasant experience for the dog. You have to remember when potty training, what we're trying to do is get the dog to come to us and let us know that it has to actually go outside. So basically, if the dog does have an accident and we rub its nose in it, it's like the last thing I'm gonna do is tell you that I have to go in the bathroom because you're gonna rub my nose in it. And it wasn't a pleasant experience. So don't do that for sure. Number two mistake is people like, bad dog, bad dog, bad dog, no, no, no. Well, the dog's like, well, you get mad when I potty, but I gotta potty like 15 times a day. So obviously, since this pisses you off, I'm gonna go hide behind the couch or go in the basement and do it away from you. So again, instead of letting you know it has to potty, it is gonna do the opposite. So when potty training is all about positive reinforcement and give the dog a motivation to want to listen to us. So we don't wanna use any punishment. If you really feel like punishment is required, what you basically wanna do is you get like a stick or like a piece of wood, something that would really hurt, and then really hard you want to hit your own arm because you put your dog in a position to have an accident. Never punish your dog. It's just not going to help at all. Matter of fact, it is going to make it worse. So no yelling. And if you catch the dog in the middle of it, you want to and just stop the dog. Get it. A loud sound will get their attention, and then pick them up and take them outside immediately. Don't show that you're frustrated or angry because then they won't want to do anything when you pick them up. So now let's go to the positive reinforcement. Dogs learn through repetition, consistency, and good timing. You have really 3 seconds to correct or reward the dog for them to make the connection. Now, when it comes to potty training, distraction is a big factor. So if I take my dog outside, a lot of people think, well, I left it outside for an hour, then I came inside and had an accident. Well, outside, there's a lot of distractions. There's the kids that are running by next door. There's squirrels, there's birds, there's smells, there's feces, cat scat, all this different stuff on the ground. I'm just in sensory overload. Then I come inside and suddenly I've smelled everything. There's not as much variation inside. So then suddenly I'm just not distracted. I'm like, oh, you know what? I have to potty. I'll just let it rip right here. That's what dogs do. They let it rip pretty much wherever they are unless they're where they sleep. The guardian was a little bit confused about the dog bed because she was peeing on the dog bed, but I think it might be the other dog's marking, which we'll talk about at the end of this video. So for the accidents, what we want to do is, or for the potty training, take the dog outside with you. So and a lot of times I'll actually show you how you can teach your dog how to go to a specific part of the yard. So take May outside on a leash at the times that she's most likely to go, as well as once an hour. The times she's most likely to go are right after waking up, 5 minutes after eating, and 15 minutes after heavy playtime. So if you're doing the exercise we talked about off camera, she should immediately go outside afterwards. Probably I would take her outside to have a potty or a bowel movement before exercise and immediately after. But after longer than 15 minutes, immediately take her outside. And if the dog's just kind of chilling and all of a sudden gets up and sprints away, often that means they need to poop. Now, dogs, when they do want to go, are kind of going to circle the floor in kind of a serpentine or S shape or a circle, and they're going to sniff, and they're going to go over the same area over and over again. So if you catch your dog starting to do that, that's a good time to take your dog out. If you're in doubt, take your dog out. And once an hour, you should take your dog out. What we really want the dog to do is be in the right place at the right time when they're pottying enough times in a row, and then reward them richly for doing it. So don't leave it outside forever. So take it outside on a leash and take it to the part of your yard where you want it to go. And just stand in the middle of it and let the dog go kind of wherever it wants, wherever the leash will go, but just in that corner area or wherever you want your dog to go. If the dog does not go within 5 minutes, bring it inside and either put it in the kennel or carry it or tie the leash to your belt for the next 15 to 30 minutes. When the dog starts whimpering or whining, take it back outside and it gets another 5 minutes to go, but no more than 5 minutes. If it's not going in 5 minutes, it's not urgent enough to need to go. Now, I would recommend you write this down in your exercise journal, which I talked about the guardians off camera, so actually you start kind of noticing a trend, especially if you feed your dogs. It's the other benefit of going to structured feeding as opposed to free feeding, is you can kind of figure out about a 10 to 15 minute window when your dog's going to need to poop in the morning. So you know your dog's loaded or unloaded. So we take the dog outside when it's loaded. I would take it out right out first thing and go there on leash, even though it's a fenced in backyard. If the dog goes anywhere in the leashed area, you just give a treat. If it doesn't go, then you bring it back inside and hold it like I talked about. And you keep repeating that in-out process till the dog has the potty dance. Then when you take it outside, it really has to go, and it goes. As soon as the dog starts to pee or poop, you want to say your command word. Now, the guardians here were saying the word potty. But a lot of times I find that when people use a word over and over again out of context, it's faster to come up with a completely new word. Most of us go out there and the dog was going to go potty anyways. We say, go make a potty, and the dog pees. We're like, my dog is so smart. And the next time we go outside and tell the dog to potty, the dog's like, I don't have to potty, and doesn't know what it means, and doesn't potty, and we get mad at the dog for being obstinate. It really takes a lot of repetition. So when we go outside, if the dog, as soon as the dog starts to pee or poop, we're gonna come up with a new command word. I use the word business. Some people say, one of my clients says dump, which I think is kind of funny, deposit, or any word that you want, but make sure it's a normal word and careful how you say it. Dogs do hear pronunciation. So if you say, if dad says dump, and our camera woman says, dump, to a dog, that sounds like two different command words. So always say it the same way. So as soon as the dog starts to pee or poop, in a normal tone of voice, we're gonna say the word business. Now, I'm gonna have a treat with me. And so as soon as the dog starts to pee or poop, I say the word business in a normal tone of voice. And be careful, a lot of times when our dog has been having accidents in the house, the dog starts having an accident, or go, and we go, business! And we'll stop them from evacuating their bladder. They'll come inside and have an accident. So you just say business once, and as soon as, after they start, within 3 seconds of them starting, as soon as they get done, May. Drop, I'll actually give for that, but normally I would say the word business a second time. So as soon as the dog gets done, you crouch down, that usually attracts the dog to come to you, pop a treat in their mouth and say the word business again after the treat goes in the mouth. And whether it's this or any other exercise, anytime you give your dog a treat, they should hear the command word sit immediately after the treat goes in the mouth, not before. It'll brighten the command response a little bit better. So if you do it after the treat goes in the mouth. So it starts to pee or poop, you say business one time. As soon as it gets done, then you pop the treat in its mouth, say business a second time, and pet it and reward it. Then you bring it back inside. So for a week, I would make sure that we're taking the dog out every time, except for during the day. There's a dog door here. During the day, you can leave it open. And then after a week, what you want to do is you want to, when the dog needs to go, show the dog you have a treat and go, or unless it'll follow you anyway, so you don't have to do it. Go to the corner of the yard where you were doing it before. If the dog pees or poops in that area, then you go, business, 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 business. I'd be giving a treat each time. So I'm gonna give the dog 5 treats if it goes in that designated area. If it goes anywhere in the yard, he gets 1 treat. But designated area gets a special, we call it a jackpot. This motivates the dog, well, if I pee here, I get a mother load of treats. Now, some people will do this when they have an older dog. This is really remedial potty training. If you don't want to do the leash in a certain part of the yard, just go outside with the dog, and as soon as the dog starts to pee or poop, the first time, you just give it 5 treats right in a row, which I probably recommend for you guys because you don't really care so much. You just want it outside. So we want the dog going, I dare not waste this urine inside because this stuff is valuable. If I go outside, I get 5 treats for it. And we say business after each treat goes in the dog's mouth. And don't say business, 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 business. Wait for them to get done chewing. Business. So after a while, the dog's now motivated to want to go outside. A lot of us, like I talked about earlier, we go out and we tell the dog to potty. The dog doesn't even know what the command word is and just was going to potty anyways. Well, let's say the dog doesn't know and I go potty, potty, come on buddy, make a potty, make a potty. I could be just as well going because he doesn't know what the word potty is. We have to put things in context. That's why we don't say the word until the dog does it. So don't tell the dog to potty. Just take it out the time that it needs to go and wait for it to do it. And when it does, mark it with a command word and then mark it with a rewarder. And after a while, like I said, the dog won't want to pee or poop inside because he'll do it outside. Now, we also have another dog in the house named Frank. Named Friend, excuse me. Can I have Friend? Can you grab me Friend? I'll bring Friend into the shot. Friend is a giant dog. This is Friend. Friend is the older dog and is a little bit of a Richard. That's what I say with, there's another version of saying the word, the name Richard when I'm talking about something else. But he's a little bit spoiled and a little bit of powder. He marks. Now, marking is different than accidents. An accident means I don't know any better. It's not intentional. Marking is absolutely intentional. And this usually comes from dogs that don't have a lot of rules or structure, petted whenever they want, and allowed on the furniture. Those are like the 3 things if you have a dog that marks that you want to eliminate. So I talked about this off camera, but for marking, you really want to let the dog know very strongly that it's very unwanted. Now, most of the time this happens when we're not around. So if you have a dog that does mark, you want to limit their access so they have to be in your purview for a period of time. We want them to get out of a habit of marking. Now, marking is really something that's done when the dog has a perception that it's an authority figure. So the more we have rules and structure and petting with a purpose path training, the less he feels that that's his place. But we have a new dog that came in. He's already been here for 5 years. There's an older dog that passed on. And so now this young one's come in. He's going around the house marking on everything so that this little one knows, yes, that there was a man in charge. Well, the more that the humans act like leaders, the less that he feels that he needs to do that. So for marking, a lot of times they do it, well, he does something else. He does something called scent marking. He goes and drags his shoulder along the side of couches and stuff. That's a way of scent marking it. So we're going to disagree with that as well. Stand up immediately and give him a loud hiss for that. Now, if the dog, you see the dog kind of, usually, if this is like, let's say that this shoe here represents a vertical surface, usually the dog comes by this way, and then comes by and lifts the leg. So when you see the dog coming back to the same area a couple times and sniffing, you should be watching it. And as soon as before the dog gets a chance to lift its leg, when it kind of stops, he's about to lift his leg, you want to stand up and hiss really loud and very suddenly. And I'd like you to give use the same energy you would as if somebody touched you inappropriately. I want you really lightning fast in that speed. And really act as if you're offended by what the dog is about to do. And because you should. We think of it as an accident and labeling it together, but again, it's intentional. And we don't want to punish the dog for it, but we want to preemptively disagree with the dog very vigorously before the dog does it. And at the same time, like I said, limiting the dog's access to rooms where it can't get into trouble. We want the dog to get in a behavior pattern. After about a month of going outside and getting a potty, so after the first week for May, I would still have somebody go out there with a treat and just watch her. And then every time May starts to pee or poop, we say business or whatever the word is, and then crouch down like a softball catcher. She'll run over and pop that treat in her mouth. So for a month, every time she potties successfully, she gets a reward. And for you, we're going to try to limit your access, and also by giving him some rules and structure, we're going to flip the leader-follower dynamic really for both dogs. And then eventually he'll feel it's inappropriate to mark. Well, this little guy who's ignoring me, this is called avoidance. He's not happy to be held. So I'll go ahead and put him down. He's going to walk away. And May will probably come over. He's doing it slow, which is actually good. It helps May not come over. Well, that was May, or that was Friend, and the first dog was May. And these are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that needs some remedial potty training.